What's going on, YouTube homies? JC Inshore here again. This will be part number 8 of the backyard skiff build. I'm going to show you how to go from this, wherever I can put it, not very well fitting finish, to this, which is pretty much going to be a dry run. Try to get everything fit together so that when I am ready to resin it all and do a final install on everything, everything will go smoothly, and I already know how everything should and will fit together. So hang in there. We're going to go and take a little ride and enjoy the video and see how we get from this product to the final product. All right, guys, so if you remember from the last video that I put out last weekend, we got the bulkheads cut out and pretty much put the floor in, did like a dry run. And if you guys remember, we had these ugly overhang right here. You see it fits kind of flush on that side, but on this side there's an overhang. And I think what's happening is the bulkhead is putting pressure on the bottom of these walls, which is causing it to bow in. So all it is a little sanding and fitting. Tools I'm pretty much going to be using today, very simple. Got the grinder here with my 80 grit disc on it, which, as you can see, I need to put a new one on there because that thing is chewed up, and just a little block with some sanding paper. I'm just going to do some fine sanding on the bottom of all these pieces to hopefully get it fit in nice and easy to get that final product we're wanting. So of course, the first step, we're going to have to pull this floor back out. I do have a little bit of water in the bottom of the boat. It's no big deal. We've had some tropical storms offshore. If you've been paying attention to the weather and you live in Florida and that's what you care about. But pretty much I'm just going to sand here along the tops of these pieces, maybe a little on the bottom. And then I'm also going to sand some of this under here because I still have some of this caked up resin that's probably not adding or helping the situation at all either. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is grab a sanding block, sand up under here where all these pieces connect, and we'll go from there. I can already tell that's not going to be enough. So I'll probably have to do some fine sanding under here where it's touching. I think there's some other spots over there where it's touching too. So it looks like it's mostly over here. So let me pop these out. We'll start sanding and we'll get on with it. So like I said, the first place I'm going to start is sanding under here. I got the block with my 40 grit. I think this is. Yeah, 40 grit's really aggressive. There's some of this built up thickened resin under here that I know is not going to help the situation. Plus, I don't feel like that's going to help with the bonding when I actually go to install those bulkheads. So it's just a simple process. Trying to sand and get some of this a lot smoother, more of a flat surface, even surface for the bulkhead. Just going to sand it a little bit, run my fingers underneath. We're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. And if I could, I'd use my electric sander to get under there, but it's just not enough room for it to fit under there. So this is what I've kind of had to resort to. You guys remember last week when I was taking those tabs off, that one gave me an issue, so I went ahead and sanded that down smooth. I had some drips over here from a thickened resin that I put on here. I went ahead and sanded those smooth, so that should help us a lot. I am still going to probably take and sand a little off of these corners that are under the lips themselves, so that way it'll take some pressure off and let these walls fall back in a little bit easier. So pretty much what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the gap here, and I got a little bit of a gap over there, but it's not a big issue. But I'm also paying attention to how much this is flexing the hole when I put this into place, which actually now it's not, that I've been sanding and grinding on it. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. And one thing I forgot to realize is I can pull those out, pull those sides out to help accommodate for that overlap that I have. So I've done a little bit of grinding. I've done a little bit of sanding. This stern piece I haven't really touched because that's good to go. These two were my main focus, the midship and the bow. But now that I've done some sanding and grinding on those, let me throw the floor back in and we'll see how it looks. So here we are, and I'm going to have to be quick, guys, because the weatherman lied. It wasn't supposed to rain till 8 o'clock, but it's actually starting to rain right now. But I've pretty much fixed my overlap. I think I'm going to have to put a little piece of a stringer that goes from the midship to the bow just to support that edge, because it is kind of flimsy over there. And I am still going to have to make my blocks for the back corners here. I know I've got a little bit of a gap there, but I'll be able to fill that with fiberglass. I'd rather it be even up here than it be flush back there, and then I have a gap up here to fill. So I feel like that'd be easier to fill back there. So it's going to start pouring here any second, more than it already is. So I'm going to have to cut this one short. Guys, checks me next weekend. Check me out next weekend. We'll finish putting in that one little stringer piece. We'll put in those two little blocks. And if it's not raining, if there isn't storms out there, we'll go ahead and take some fiberglass and thickened resin and put those stringers in. We'll tab them in. We'll talk about how you do that. But for right now, this is what I've got. Going to try and beat the rain here. Of course, there's always some cleanup going on, but I've solved my main issue of fixing that overlap. I'm going to have to do something here because this piece kind of curls up. So I might have to sand down this corner specifically just to let this piece lay down and lay flat a little bit better. So thanks for hanging out with your boy. Check me out next weekend. We'll be doing more baby steps. I know we've got a long way to go for this thing hits the water. I've actually made a little list here after my last video, and it seems like a long list, but it's just a bunch of small things. This sanding is going to be the big time consumer right there. Everything else is baby steps. Got a little bit of a trailer day paint, and the motor. We'll talk about the motor too at some point. I've got it in the garage. Haven't really touched on that too much. And I do still have to fabricate a bench that's going to go on the back there for me to sit on. And then, of course, the ultimate goal. So like I said, catch me next weekend, guys. I know this is kind of a short one, trying to beat the weather, old Mother Nature, tropical storms. It's the price you pay to live in Florida. By all means, subscribe, like, leave a comment. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Check out all my other previous 7 videos that I have leading up to this point. And we'll keep pushing forward, guys. Peace.